While on my daily scroll through X seeing what's going on in the world, this post popped up. Quite a random one, but I thought a valuable story for us because it highlights something that is a very important message in regards to youth and skincare and invasive measures that are promoted towards younger people in this market. So let's have a look at what happened to Kat. I don't know if this is a real scenario, but it certainly seems like that, and it seems like this is the girl in the image. She goes to a dermatologist in LA for the first time and essentially asks this dermatologist, besides moisturizer and SPF, the basic stuff, is there anything she could be doing that would help her skin age well? And the dermatologist responds that she'd be a great candidate for Botox. So she was a bit surprised by that. She said, do you have many 21-year-old patients using Botox? And the dermatologist looked her over, gasped audibly, and said, "You're only 21?" I mean, that is one hell of a psychological technique for sales right there. And I think that's largely what it is. It's a sales technique to imply, oh, you look older than your actual age. And therefore, yeah, you should probably take my advice and inject your face with a toxin that will paralyze your muscles. Now, here is where we get to the issue. Besides the ethical conundrum of just the vested interest, where it seems the dermatologist is just looking to make another sale, and it would probably be a very good sale because Botox isn't cheap and it is a recurring revenue business model, particularly if you're starting with young people who definitely don't need it from the aesthetics perspective of freeze out some lines and wrinkles of some sort. They are marketing it more from the perspective of it's a preventative measure where it will make the muscle frozen in space and time so that the wrinkles will never form in the first place because you're not going to have all that movement of your face. There's a second medical reason, and that is described and showcased by this lady here, where she's detailing that she got it in the jawline muscle, responsible for a lot of chewing and tension in this area, and she got it so that she would stop the tension when she's stressed and unable to sleep well at night. She's grinding her teeth, and so this paralyzed the muscle and helped relieve that tension for her, and she continued to get those doses, and over time she didn't realize it at the time, as we often don't, because we see our face every day, we don't notice gradual changes. She began to notice once she saw a photo, like a before and after picture, like here, and she saw that, wow, it has actually changed the shape of my face. Now, she was happy about that. She saw it as an improvement. It gives more that love heart shape to the face that is desirable to some people. And so she was very happy with that outcome. I share this because that's exactly what Botox is doing right there. It's paralyzing the muscle. And what happens to a muscle when you don't use it? It withers. It wastes away. It's the same thing that happens to a limb when it's not used. You think of the legs of a paraplegic. Are they nice, muscular, well-defined, toned legs? No, of course not. They're withered away. It's largely bone and sinew and a little bit of muscle hanging on there valiantly. But in general, if you don't use a part of your body, the body will prioritize other parts. It's the ultimate triage nurse. So what do you think happens when you are paralyzing structural muscles in your face? I mean, muscles that serve a purpose. They're there for a reason. And yes, they may change the way you look if that muscle is more developed or less, but it is still an important ingredient in your facial structure. So my biggest issue with the promotion of Botox, particularly to younger audience, is that you are creating a whole lot of weakened facial muscles there, and maybe aesthetically that you think at the moment that makes you look better, but what happens years down the track when your face isn't functioning properly because you have paralyzed the muscles too much and they're too weak to serve their original purpose? That is one issue right there. Another issue that I see with this interaction with the dermatologist is that it's promoting the use of an invasive procedure at a very young age. Now, there are 18-year-olds out there getting Botox. There's probably younger than that, but it's becoming increasingly common for people in their teens and 20s to use Botox. And that is just a gateway right there. Ignore the whole muscle paralysis right there, but think about the gateway to a whole host of other invasive procedures. Ironically, the best chance that you've got to have great skin later in life is by not going through invasive procedures early in your life. It's more about what you don't do than what you do, because I'm going to assume that most of you are starting off with a reasonable level, base level of quality skin. In regards to, you've got a lot of collagen, you've got a lot of elastin. Youth gives us that. So you may have some surface issues. You may have some pimples, some breakouts. You may have, it's a bit oily in this area, or it's a bit combination, it's a bit dry, maybe it's a little bit sensitive, but that's less likely if you have young skin. It usually gets more sensitive the older you're getting and the more invasive treatments that you're going through. Or maybe it's acne that you're suffering. A lot of these things can be dealt with internally and should be dealt with internally. There are things we can do on the outside, but invasive procedures are not the answer in, I would say, 95+% of the cases out there. So the irony is exactly that in your 20s, you want to be avoiding those invasive procedures. That's going to give you the best chance of great skin later on. You also want to be avoiding, not entirely sunshine. It's great for us. It's an important ingredient for our body. It has so many different hormonal processes that are kicked in through sun exposure, but not too much sun exposure directly on the face. That will have a big impact. Avoiding sugar, avoiding heavy mineral oil makeups that are just going to be clogging and congesting your pores, creating a lot of issues. Avoiding toners that are using alcohol just to strip off that mineral oil makeup and strip off the oil barrier. Just avoiding some nasty things that are fairly basic and using a minimal approach to your skincare is going to get much better results for the long term than it is injecting yourself with things that will paralyze your facial muscles and eventually end up with a whole host of issues where the muscle is weakened. I mean, there's a whole bunch of issues around Botox. It can trigger dormant viruses. There is discussion around it actually causing some autoimmune conditions. There's very interesting information coming out around the freezing of the facial expression and the impact that that has on the emotional and psychological development as a result of not being able to express ourselves fully, because it gives you that statue-like look when you freeze your expression. However, our facial muscles are there for a reason, to convey and communicate and connect with other human beings. We are biologically hardwired to respond to the cues, those micro cues in other people's facial expressions. And that's a really interesting idea there. When you are freezing and paralyzing those micro expressions in order to maybe prevent or to minimize the lines that they may cause, it has an impact on your relationships with other people. And I think that's a rabbit hole we could definitely dive down much deeper in the future, because think about childhood development. There was a whole bunch of studies that came out after the pandemic of stunted childhood development as a result of people wearing masks and the kids not being able to see the facial expression, the movement of the lips, and so their language development was stunted as a result and delayed. And think of that from a cosmetic level. The world is full of people who have paralyzed faces, who are not expressing themselves fully. I wonder what the depth of their relationships are like if they're single and they're out there looking for someone and they're unable to express the interest that would normally show on the face. I mean, that's just a random thought that came into my head from that information I was reading before this. But there's many different aspects here. And that dermatologist speaking to a 21-year-old saying that she's the perfect candidate for Botox, I don't think they're considering all of those aspects right there and the true impact that it could have on that young woman's life. So What is a possible answer to the idea of, rather than just moisturizing and SPF, what else could she do? Well, it's the avoiding of things, as I said. It's a lot about what you're putting into your body. Avoid the excess sugars, avoid seed oils, avoid stress. Stress is a huge one. It is the underlying issue for so many things. So cut as much stress as you can from your life and try and find ways to manage that stress, because certain stresses are inevitable and are unable to be removed. And if you are going to react to those stresses throughout your life, then that's something that's worth investing the time in. Let's say meditation, some sort of mindfulness approach, whatever it is for you. I love to go out and get into nature. That de-stresses me massively. So there's different ways that you can deal with that, and you don't have to carry that stress with you, because that's a very toxic thing and it shows up on our skin. Avoiding heavy makeup, avoiding the invasive procedures. I would say in general, don't go to your beauty therapist. A lot of the procedures that happen there is just not really necessary, particularly for young skin. You can do a lot of this at home, particularly with the help of the tools from companies like Nu Skin. I mean, Nu Skin is absolutely amazing at helping us have our own beauty therapist in our bathroom. My advice to someone in their 20s is to focus on two key things. Ask the question of, is this product safe? Can I use this long term? I'm not going to have some adverse effect from it. And number two, is it actually effective? Is it going to do something for my skin? And is it demonstratable that it's effective? Like, does it have some science behind it, some clinical studies that show that this actually has an effect? Or is it just nice sounding words? Because that's what I find most 20-year-olds fall for, is the organic label, it's the natural label, it's the vegan label, it's none of this label, none of that, it's cruelty free, it's all of this. It means nothing in regards to whether or not it is safe and whether or not it is effective for your skin. So focus on those two things and you'll be able to cut through most of the marketing BS that is out there, and you'll be able to navigate through this very complicated world of the beauty industry, where a lot of people are playing on emotions, just like that dermatologist was. Alright guys, that's all for today. My name's Kurt Provost. I am your guide to all things Nu Skin. I will see you in a future video, because you've hit that subscribe button and you've gained access to the over 250 other videos where I do deep dives into the products that you see behind me, and probably answering many of the questions that you have in your head already. And if you're curious about a great basic program from Nu Skin, then by all means reach out to me on Kurt Provost at Facebook or Instagram, or you can reach out to me at kurtnuskin@gmail.com, and I'll be able to formulate something for you there. Alright guys, see you there. Ciao.